All right, my fellow agents, welcome back to Zenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. I am X-7, your host, and today we are going to be talking about an oddball, rarely seen until probably the mid 90s movie, Space Master X-7. Well, I'm not going to say I haven't been to space, but I'm not saying I'm not. I have been to space. You figure it out. But before we get too much further into this, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this movie. Have you seen it before? Have you? Are you familiar with it? It's an unusual movie. Let me know what you think about it. Do you like movies about space spores? There's lots of them, or blobs, or flesh-eating anything. Your humble agent does not, but we'll get into that. So, having said all that, buckle up, set your phasers to fry, and let's roll. Okay, so we start out. I'll tell you, I got this copy off the Internet Archive, and it's full screen, and it's a tiny little file. So I went searching around and found a copy from I guess the German DVD. Maybe it's much better. We'll see some of this. Well, there you go. So it still says something Rocket. Ein Production der Regal Films. Yes, Regal Film. I don't. My German is terrible. Space Master X-7 was uh, released in 1958 in June of 1958. It runs 71 minutes. The German one ran about 67 minutes. It's a compact little movie, and it works pretty well. But you can see, as you'll see here, there's the full screen one. I first saw it on the Sci-Fi Channel when Sci-Fi started out. 91, 92, and I recorded it. And then I don't think I ever watched it again, and I didn't remember much about it. I thought it ended up in a pool. The print was good, better than this. So this does say TV PG, so it could very well have been from Sci-Fi or Sci-Fi, but there's no Sci-Fi down here, so I don't know where it came from. Here's the cast. Now this is the one that surprised me. Paul Frees, Boris Badenov, just slightly a year before he was in there. And down here, why, I spread out, you guys. Mo Howard, because his son-in-law, um, uh, dang it, where'd it go? It was right there a minute ago. I saw his name, and produced by, well, I'll tell you down here in a moment. Let's see. Made a cameo. His son, he'd worked with Burns, the director, and he got it because they for his son-in-law Norman Maurer. So Maurer would work on the film as a production assistant, and Maurer would then later on work for The Angry Red Planet, a movie I really enjoy and is better than this one. So so there's Mo. The rest of the cast is good. It's almost a really good movie. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. There's Edward Burns, as we said, and there's the. Now we're going to go right into one more shot. This is the narrator who tells us the story, a true story, how it happened. Um, so we'll get right into that. So there's the full widescreen. It was really widescreen, so I'll talk a little more about it. But like I said, it's a good movie. It's too bad. I mean, it was on before widescreen TVs were a thing, and everything was shown in its proper perspective, film, the way it was supposed to be seen. So I'm glad to have got this. Lots of stock footage in here, as we'll see. There's our cast. That's our ostensible hero, Bill Williams as John Hand. Um, he was the titular character in The Adventures of Kit Carson from 1951 to 1955. And there's his sidekick, Robert Ellis as Private Joe Radigan, who's also an astronomer. He was the last actor to play Henry Aldrich on the radio series The Aldrich Family. So he's been probably in lots more stuff. The Babe Ruth story. I don't see anything other. Lots of television. I Love Lucy, Lone Ranger. Wouldn't surprise me if he'd been on Perry Mason. I really do need a sting for that. I'll steal it. I'll steal it from Sven Gulli. I'll steal from the best. He's quite good. He's also this Radigan's a junior astronomer, and there he is, Boris Badenoff himself. And that, of course, was Rocky and Bullwinkle, the Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends. Just a year later, so he might have been working on this already, on Rocky and Bullwinkle already, supplying the voice for Boris. But he's kind of smarmy and kind of a jerk, but he's not a bad person, but he's mean. But he's just it's so fun to see him here. And he's the lead scientist. He is Dr. Charles T. Palmer, who wants the spores from outer space, which is what they get. That's what the rocket set. There it is. They're handling it with their bare hands. Radigan wants to see his workshop because he's as an astronomer. But he says no because his former lover, that would be Lynn Thomas as Laura Greeling, is now married and wants their son back. So the son is away at boarding school, so you don't even see the kid ever. And he's more important. I mean, he's like, no, we'll talk about it because I don't know. But he opens it up with his hands, and then he starts taking notes, and he's got a reel-to-reel recorder, very important. But he's definitely got the trappings of a scientist who majored in science, the Bunsen burner and stuff. He's called it the blood rust because of the way it grows. He narrates this, so it's well done. I mean, it's a compact movie, and I can't say it's bad. I really can't. But it needs something, and at the end is the main issue. But there it is, growing away, and he's just recording away. And she finally says, "Okay, just give it to me. Give me our son, my husband now, who doesn't know, and he's jealous." Which you don't see the husband ever either. This is where we learn a little bit about Private Radigan. He's like, "Park it." So, and look at how big the blood rust has gotten. Finally, there's the custody papers, so he's going to give it to her. Then he assaults her. She assaults him back with the paperweight and clunks him in the head. And he just goes back in there. He's like, "Get out." So she's like, "I'm leaving." He's fine. And there's the red and white cab company. Guess who's piloting the red and white cab company? It's Mo. Mo is Rettlinger. No, pardon. Yeah, Rettlinger, the cab driver. She's like, "Here, get me there and don't spare the change." I want to say this was probably before the Stooges shorts got released to television. I'm not 100% sure. I don't quote me on that, but it seems like it might have been right before because Mo did start making making Three Stooges movies. Well, he might have been. Maybe he was always very conscious about his providing for his family. So and so off he goes. And now they get a call from Palmer, and he's like, "Yeah, the blood rust, kill it, set fire to everything. Let's go, let's roll." And there it is. It's now why it's contaminated so much, we don't know. It just kind of broke out, or he fed it something. Him. That's the last we see of Boris Badenoff himself, who, if he'd have thought about this, would have unleashed it on Moose and Squirrel. But there's the tape recorder, so off they go. He sends old Radigan out there to get it. I don't know what would have happened if he'd have gotten it on him. Then they set fire to the whole place and torch it. Boom. They decontaminate. Now, I don't know what they would decontaminate this with, because wouldn't that ruin I don't know. But they decontaminate everything, including our heroes. And in the In the full screen one, it goes the telescene operator has it move back and forth while the narrator is talking about having to decontaminate it. So finally, they're out. They're in their now clean scrubs and everything. Apparently, they're sure of it. So they're listening to it, and and then they hear Laura's voice. So off they have to find her because she could be, carrying it. Guess what? Spoiler alert: she is. So they go talk to Mo, who has to be decontaminated. He at first says, because she gave him probably a 5 spot or a sawbuck or a 10 spot, and he's being nice, but then he thinks about it. He's like, "Is the dame in trouble?" And off they go. So they take him to decontamination, probably burn the cab. The Air Force is sent out, and she's just wandering around. This down in, I think she's in L.A. No, let me see if that is. It's somewhere in California. She's got to Los Angeles. She buys a paper and then sees this. They're trying to find her, but unfortunately, and this actually makes sense, really makes sense, is that she thinks they're after her because she thinks she had something to do with it. They don't want to cause a panic, so they just leave it vague. And so she's like, "I got to get out of here." Off she goes. She sees the policeman thinking they're after her. Off she goes. Boop, 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 boop. And there's Union Station. I just like all these old, just the way this looks. There's still traffic there in LA. I like the Rancho supermarket with a big old Coca-Cola sign. Supermarket. The Rancho supermarket. Payphones. She calls her mom or her sister or somebody. The cop shows up, but they found the plane, or no, the boxcar, something. And he goes in and gets some kind of sample, and then they toast it. Yeah, everything. Mo is giving her a description, and he is actually making the cast crack up because of there's just being himself. I mean, he makes them smile, which is a nice touch. I mean, they just let him be himself a little bit. He's describing her. He's like, "Oh, I forgot the nose," and they're all smiling because he's just being funny. But it's like, it's just who he is, and it's a nice touch. I really appreciate it. It's always good to see Mo, not being Mo, but still being Mo. You know, and see, look, he's holding back. He's biting his lips. Bill Williams there is biting his lips to not laugh at what he said. That was the nose comment. Oh yeah, she has a nose. So they all played along, and I mean, it was a quick shoot. I'm sure it didn't take too many days. The budget was $90,000. I don't know if it was released on a double feature with anything. It seems like it would almost have to be at 70 minutes, 71 minutes. That's as long as your first. The Boris Karloff Frankenstein, 1931, was only 71 minutes. So, she sees it. Then this guy sees her. She's watching a Western on the telly there. And there it is. And they pronounce it Los Angeles, which if you watch early episodes of Perry Mason, Perry actually, the cast calls it Los Angeles. Then they change it to Los Angeles, probably by the second season, if not early, by the middle of the first season. She's gone, but he calls it in. Look at the rabbit ears, this concierge. So she orders a whole bunch of stuff up there. She's got plenty of money because she flew in. Her husband's in Hawaii, and she's flying out there to get her son. And she dyes her hair, new clothes. Smart woman. So she thinks she's in trouble and running from the law, and they come following her. And there's the blood rust. He's like, "I'll take care of this," because they got to, disinfect everything. So she's causing a lot of trouble unknowingly. So this is one of the most interesting parts about it. She reacted kind of normally because she thinks, she didn't kill him. She saw him alive. So there's a little lapse of logic there, but and now she's looking for a flight, Transorient Airways, just to get to Hawaii. So she finally does. And there's our plane. It's an old prop job. So, it takes 5 hours from LA to Hawaii to at least, I forget what island I was on. Not Kauai was the second one, but not the big island, not Honolulu. So But he gets on at the last minute, Radigan, and he's just charming the flight attendants. He's talking to everybody that got on that fits the description of an attractive woman with brunette hair. So they're in contact with him, and there's the cockpit with 4 people in it. So he's telling them what's going on. This is one of the women. The blood rust is in her suitcase, so it's growing. For some reason, it just eats apparently anything that's protein based. So cotton is cotton protein based. We don't know. Wool would be though. So finally, and she's still scared, but she overhears him saying that she didn't kill him. So she finally goes up and says, "Hey, I'm the one you're looking for." Cigarette. 5:40 a.m. That's when they've turned around, right before, right before the point of no return. So they're heading back to the Oxnard Air Force Base. And now everyone's worried. Suddenly, it's CO2, Bill. They're spraying the fire extinguisher at the blood rust. It's cold enough that it probably might slow it down. But there it is, looking gross. So the blood rust is menacing everyone in the plane, and that's its terrifying menace. They couldn't have radioed ahead and had everyone in, but I mean, it probably would have exploded over the air and then burned it out, but we don't know. So it's jammed the blood rust has jammed the wheels, so they're going to have to make a landing on the belly. They've got foam down there, but that's it. I mean, everyone gets out. They go to decontamination. They got buses ready for them. And I don't think they're going to blame her. She didn't know. But that's it. So the movie just ends there. We don't know if she got her son. We don't know what her husband thought. Why were you out there? What happened here? Why were you involved in this? Lots of questions. I mean, Palmer's dead, but she probably did. Hopefully, she came clean with him. But that's it. That is the movie. That is it. So, like I said, really, it's a fascinating movie. I think it's got it's entertaining enough. I was entertained. I'm glad to have seen it again because, like I said, I forgot everything about it, and now it's just I don't know that I watch it again because it was 30 years ago when I recorded it off Sci-Fi and never watched it, and I probably pitched that tape. And but I think if they'd had a little more drama at the end where it was almost like they weren't going to survive. I don't know. Let me know what you think. The ending could have been a bit better, a little more dramatic, a little more scary, but everyone lived and they stopped the blood rust. But what if it comes back down? We'll never know now, will we? Because that's just how these movies went. So again, I'd give it a B minus, maybe a C plus, just because of the ending. But it works itself out logically because of things I've enumerated. All right, my fellow agents, tomorrow we will be doing a redo of the Super Special Aquaman comic book because I'll do it the way I've been doing book reviews. And I saw the original today and I thought, I need to do that over. So I'm gonna. And it'll be a lot more fun. But until our next assignment, this is X-7 signing off and phasing out.
Coming up next, more action-packed adventures with Aquaman, King of the Seven Seas, featuring Aqualad and Tusky the Walrus.